17th. Get your coffee out. Sidelines is with you. We need to get these cups where we can send them out to people. I need, Brendan, if you need another one, I'll get you one.
Rob, I need all sorts of things.
We all need sidelines. And I'm going to tell you what, we got a lot to cover today. We got Barry Tramel, legendary sports writer from Oklahoma. Started at age 17. Love the people that follow their dreams and their passions. And he's one of the best you'll ever hear from. We'll also have Will Gunter from over in South Carolina talking about the matchup in Columbia, South Carolina, and Missouri, as well as Dudley Dawson inside Arkansas. He has moved over there with John Neighbors and the team in Fayetteville. Plus, Vince Ferrara checks in from the Hill in Knoxville. Take a picture with the QR code. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, 8 channels live, and then later, and it's streamed everywhere. Watch us live or at your leisure. So it's college football, and Barry Tramel, thank you so much for taking time to join us this morning. I know you got a busy day ahead of you. By the way, every time I watch Wishbone, you and Kirk Bowles, got to get you an Emmy for that, because your description of what happened, that's what I grew up on in Memphis, college football, the wishbone. I mean, you get a piece of chicken, everybody wanted to keep the wishbone, but big one this weekend, I believe it is, for Auburn. No, that's my school, but I'm objective. I'm the judge on the show, so be fair. But Oklahoma, like I thought, is getting better, but you know a lot more than I ever thought.
Well, they do look good so far now. Let's be honest. They've had one real test, and that was Michigan. That's a solid victory. Well, they didn't dominate Michigan. It's hard to dominate Michigan.
Yeah.
But the Sooners played well and had control of that game, won at 24-13. And, all arrows are looking up on the Sooners. And the SEC so far looks like some pretty clear designations on better than we thought, worse than we thought.
Yeah.
And the Sooners so far better than we thought. But it starts getting real again on Saturday and stays that way most of the rest of the season, a test virtually every week.
The quarterback, John Mateer, brings in Billy Arbuckle. Talk about his development.
Yeah, I mean, John Mateer was everything they hoped he would be. A guy played really well at Washington State a year ago, but he really only had 3 major tests. Washington, Boise State, and Texas Tech were on the Wazoo schedule. Now, the good thing about quarterbacking is you can tell a lot more from quarterbacks than most other positions against inferior competition from the delivery of their ball and all that kinds of stuff. So Mateer looked the part. He's certainly been the part since he got here. Great leader, wonderful player, can really fling it, has a great presence, running the ball. So, we'll see if he can maintain this pace. He's 1 or 2 in the Heisman odds the last couple of weeks. Carson Beck and Mateer running very close. That's not a sign that he'll be there in November, but he's exactly what they needed. A big-time playmaking quarterback, and, of course, the Sooners didn't have much quarterbacking a year ago.
Yeah, and then the defensive line, talk about the development there and some of the players they brought in, because Brent Venables is one of the elite defensive coaches, and now he's gotten back involved, it looks like.
Yeah, the defense has been great, and you sort of knew it would. Venables has done, for all the problems Venables has had running the program and winning certain games, those kinds of things, the transformation of the OU defense is amazing.
Yeah.
When Lincoln Riley left, the OU defense was no better than mediocre and really at times less than that. And the Sooners really had lost their defensive identity.
Yeah.
And Venables has brought it back. And the best part of this OU defense is its defensive front, the linemen. And what's crazy is when OU goes, July of 21, the story breaks. Sooners are going to the SEC. When the dust settled, everybody sat around thinking, how is OU ever going to compete in the SEC without the elite defensive linemen that you need? And it was believed to be the place where Oklahoma would be the most behind. Well, turns out it's the strength of this team. I mean, they're deep. They go too deep across the front. Jaden Jackson is a sophomore who's just a wonderful player. The nose guard, Dominic Williams, third-year starter now, is really good. Transfer from TCU 3 years ago. He's superb in the middle. Grayson Holton is a really solid lineman. They got pass rushers. R. Mason Thomas, PJ Adebawe, Marvin Jones Jr., transfer from Florida State. So they're deep, they're strong, they hold their own. Last year, Alabama comes to town with the playoff on the line, and the Sooners just shut down. Alabama couldn't do anything. And the losses a year ago were mostly with the offensive trouble. That defensive line is really, really good.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to sit down and talk to Jim Nagy since he came up from Mobile?
I have. I had a good hour and a half interview with Jim early August.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Fascinating story.
Yeah.
Because he's the general manager at Oklahoma now, which means he's talent acquisition, both the portal and the high school. Now that the coach is still involved, but the Sooners are really running they're making, a lot of teams they're making the transformation to a more NFL type front office. Jim Nagy seems to be a perfect fit. He was all fired up because he came up through the Green Bay Packers, and one of his mentors was Ron Wolf, the legendary general manager at Green Bay. I'm the one that got to tell him, Ron Wolf's an OU graduate, and he didn't even know that. The OU PR guy that was with me, he didn't know it. I said, yeah, nobody seems to know it because Ron Wolf always low key, didn't do many interviews. But, yeah, he's a 1962 or 63 grad of Oklahoma. So Nagy was all fired up about that. But he seems to be fitting in really well, done a great job in the portal. He came on in November, really got his legs going by January, and helping that OU, that everything's changed. This is not at all what anybody envisioned 10 years ago, 5 years ago. But it's what we've got now. And I think Nagy was a very inspired hire by the Sooners.
Yeah. Last night I sent something to Brendan being the son of great sports writer Buddy Martin himself, and said, trust but verify. There's some TV numbers that we saw on Georgia and Tennessee and what ABC's got. Are those legit? I just want to ask you, because Brendan will never, ever put on anything that we cannot verify. So I thought I might as well ask you.
Well, I think the numbers are, as far as I can tell, I got to be honest. Since I was a little kid, I wondered about the Nielsen ratings.
Yeah.
And how do you really know whether there were 26 million people watching All in the Family or whether it was 17 million? How do you really know that?
It's the biggest crock of what ever in the history of time. It really is. If you've ever sold media, what a crock it is.
Yeah. So, but I certainly think, and I know the SEC is really enjoyed that SEC brand for all those 30 years, the SEC and that window in the middle of the afternoon on CBS. But, the ABC/ESPN relationship with college football is massive and mighty. I can see where the SEC numbers could go even higher than in the past. It seems like a natural alliance, the SEC and ESPN. So, we'll see. But again, first of all, 7 million, 6 million doesn't seem like that big a deal to me. Whether it's valid or not, how could we ever know? Here's what I was taught in my one of my English classes in college. Use all ambiguity to your advantage. So, knock yourself out, marketing people. Knock yourself out.
Absolutely. All right.
Right.
The matchup Saturday, 2:30, 3:30 Eastern, ABC. This is old school. You and I, Barry, we're not very far apart at all in age. Keith Jackson, Frank Broyles, and whoever, Era Parsegian doing these games. This is a 2:30. Auburn's 0-3 all time against Oklahoma. Sugar Bowl in 71, that was ugly. And Nebraska took Alabama to the woodshed. It was a beat. Back then, the Big Eight was
there was
like
a day, guys. Let me tell you, there was a day.
Yeah,
it's the Big Eight.
Oh, I remember.
That's the year Colorado finished third in the Big Eight, finished third in the AP poll.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and Brendan grew up in Colorado 37 years. I just think this is so cool. When I was in Hoover, when they announced Oklahoma and Texas, I looked at the people around me. I said, that's a done deal. You don't float that. That's done. We ain't that far. You go I-40 straight. there are going to be a lot of people going that have never been to Norman. Tell Auburn fans and any fans about Norman. We definitely want to get you on throughout football season because your depth of knowledge is few have that.
Well, I just got back from a trip to the Monterey Peninsula of California. Yeah. And the thing I loved about it is it's just so different from where I'm at.
Yeah.
And Norman's a great college town. And, a lot of SEC's full of great college towns. But Norman's different than most of them in that the topography is going to amaze you, how flat we are. I mean, yeah. I thought Auburn was great. Made my first trip to Auburn last September.
Yeah.
And I thought it was beautiful and cool. I just thought it was my favorite trip I made. And the Sooners went to, they went to Ole Miss and Baton Rouge for the first time, yep. as well as Auburn. Auburn was my favorite of those 3 trips. But Norman is nothing like Auburn, Alabama. I promise you. We got a bunch of section line roads. Every mile you got, you got the T intersection.
Yeah.
And if you like the American heartland or maybe some vintages of the American West, that's what you're going to get in Norman. This is, it can say Southeastern, but it is not. It's more West than anything.
Yeah.
So, but it's I think people will enjoy it. It's a great town. Just don't expect, these massive creeks running everywhere, making the road curve, trees, as high as skyscrapers. We don't have those.
Well, it's a college town. It's one of the most active places in the country on a Saturday. And so what do you think happens to Auburn this game? I know you got a couple of minutes. I know you got to get going and then let people know how they can follow you.
Yeah, Auburn, Oklahoma is a fascinating game because of Jackson Arnold. It's a referendum for both coaches. Yeah. Jackson Arnold at the center of it. Oklahoma made the decision to hand the reins over to Jackson Arnold in 24 and let Dillon Gabriel go. You can't pay 2 quarterbacks. Yeah. Dillon's going to stay for another year. Great. I mean, he may start for the Cleveland Browns before we get too far down the road. But when you look at what happened with Jackson Arnold, he wasn't very good last season. Sooners moved away from him, brought him back, but it was just didn't work at all. And, the question you have for Brent Venables is why did you put your hopes of an entire season on a quarterback like that?
Yeah.
Well, now the same question's being asked of Hugh Freeze. He did the same thing for 25. Now, Jackson's played really well so far. The Baylor game, I was very impressed with the way he played.
Yeah.
But to me, this is a referendum on both coaches' decision-making. I don't see, barring John Mateer goes crazy, Jackson Arnold plays really well. Outside of that kind of matchup, I don't see how both coaches come out looking good in this game. So that's what's fascinating. We don't see many of these games where the quarterback has so much history at both places. And, of course, both teams better than we thought. They got their big win already, the early season. Winning at Baylor was a very good win for Auburn. Beating Michigan, very good win for Oklahoma. One of these teams is going to, go to sleep Saturday night pretty confident about the way the 25 season's going. Yeah. And, whoever it might be is not in bad shape and way farther down the road than their fan bases probably thought they would be going into October of 25.
Yeah. And, as a writer, you think about what you're saying because you've written it. That's what makes it so special to have the best guest. People can follow you. You do put a lot of good stuff out.
Yeah. I'm at TulsaWorld.com. Follow me on Twitter at Barry Tramel and BerryTramel. And I've been doing it a long time. My first college football game to cover, Bob Stoops was a redshirt freshman for the Iowa Hawkeyes, came to Norman to play Oklahoma. So I tell Bob, I outlasted you. I outlasted Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma City. I can't, I'm a dinosaur, but I'm still kicking.
And you're still covering NBA too. I mean,
oh yeah.
All right. We look forward to our next visit. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
You bet. Brendan, that is, he was talking about out west, and you lived in Colorado 37 years. That when you cross from Kansas into Colorado, it's flat as a pancake. What are they? And then you just all of a sudden start just bam going up. You've been to Norman. You agree? I mean, it's just totally different college town. But
there's a reason that there's a whole bunch of tornadoes there, bro. Will Gunter knows all about that stuff. What's up, man?
Will, how you feeling?
Man, we're getting there day by day. I actually be back on the radio on Monday, so we're slowly getting there. I'm kind of looking at myself, looking at myself here in your camera. I've lost weight. I'm kind of like, ooh, that's a good looking guy right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't want to say anything, but you're looking pretty slick, you know.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something else. And Brendan has taught me Google Chrome and internet. Your internet's never looked better. You look better, and your internet's never looked better.
Well, we're working on the camera shake now when Rob just gets real excited. So that's my next thing.
Sorry about that. All right. Will, 107.5 The Game in Columbia, South Carolina. I went with Vandy last week against South Carolina on my little betting thing because I said the quarterback who has more starts than any quarterback in college football, I believe, is Diego Pavia. I think that, as Chuck Oliver says, that's not nothing. It's a big deal. But what happened to Lenora Sellers? What's an update on his condition? And then let's head up to Como for the Battle of Como. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, yesterday, Shane Beamer, kind of a testy Shane Beamer yesterday, basically said that they have an injury report for a reason, and it'll come out tonight, and they'll do that. I expect him to be kind of on that middle list of probable. I'm sure they'll play a little bit of a gamesmanship there and kind of list him where he's 50-50. I forget how it exactly breaks down, doubtful, probable, whatever. But I would expect him to be on that list. I would imagine it'll be Thursday or so tomorrow night before we get an actual answer. But certainly a situation that it looked very ugly. Concussion, got hit kind of up underneath the chin.
Yeah. And
I saw him walking around on the sideline and then taken to the locker room right before halftime, and certainly did look a little dazed and confused. I truthfully don't know how concussion protocol works. I don't know what kind of test you take, but certainly it does sound like it'll be either he or Luke Doty. I do know I was speaking with people yesterday, just kind of talking. Lenore Sellers was down there doing it. They have a Monday off. They take Monday off, but he was in the weight room and he was working out and doing things.
Okay.
The question is, can he pass that test, however that test goes, to be eligible to play on Saturday afternoon?
Well, overreaction is just part of being a fan, but I think the best way to look at the college football Saturday to Saturday is a day of trading on Wall Street, 8:30 a.m. Central to 3 p.m. Markets open and it's crazy, then it closes. You do it again the next day. It just sets up the next day. South Carolina's got a great chance to win Saturday. So does Missouri. How does South Carolina get the W?
Well, you say they got a great chance. I mean, number one, there's some serious issues here. In Columbia, South Carolina. The offense as a whole, something's not right. I'm not even sure that there's something right with this team. There's some videos circulating of what appeared to be some loafing defensively early on in the game. The offensive line is an absolute disaster, and I don't know if it's talent related. It looks more so scheme wise. There's questions about Mike Shula's play calling. Obviously, we just covered Lenora Sellers. This thing's gone from a top 10 program to people wondering here if they can win 4 games this year, because you look at the schedule and now you see Texas A&M looking better. Y'all were just talking Oklahoma. Oklahoma now looks like a playoff contender. Alabama's turned a corner, so forth and so on. So, your schedule evolves each and every week, kind of what you were just talking about. But there's a lot of issues. And I had at the beginning of the year, South Carolina being 9-3. And losing this game, Eli Drinkowitz has South Carolina's number. I know the Gamecocks won last year, but Eli Drinkowitz is a former he coached alongside at North Carolina State Clayton White. He seems to have Clayton White's number and understand that defense. And last year they came back. They probably should have won that game. Hit the long pass to Luther Burden there with about a minute and a half to go, and Lenora Sellers really started his kind of hype by leading the team back down, and Rocket Sanders scored. But Eli Drinkowitz has put it to South Carolina multiple times, dating back to when he was at Appalachian State and came in here in 2019 and beat Will Muschamp. Yeah. And I love Bo Pribula. I think that they've got a good team. I think Drinkowitz is one of the more underrated coaches in the country. If Florida were to make a move, I think Florida would do themselves really good to go pay Eli Drinkowitz, and I think that would turn Florida back into the Florida that I grew up watching.
Yeah.
But so I think this is a really, really difficult game. I'm a little surprised the line, I think, adjusted overnight from 13.5 to 11.5. Again, as I mentioned, South Carolina's kind of in disarray. It's going to be they're going to have to go out. They're going to have to block. They're going to have to find a running game. If Lenore Sellers plays, he's got to play with confidence and throw the football. There's a lot of things there.
Well, when I said they have a great chance to win, so does Missouri. But I also quoted you. I was on a show with Jake Wimberly Friday afternoon in Jackson, Mississippi, and I talked about the last 3 games, excluding the bowl game. South Carolina versus Virginia Tech and South Carolina State was averaging only 17 offensive points a game. And I said, that's an ugly trend. Why is that? Because by the second or third game of the season, you're pretty much who you are. So, the offensive line's struggling. You don't know the body language part. I will say this. They looked disillusioned on the sidelines. That shouldn't happen.
It was strange. I'll be honest. I had put on Twitter throughout the week that I thought one of the big differences, kudos to the South Carolina administration. They've turned that place into, especially on a night game, I think one of the more difficult places to play in the country.
No
They do it. They've really done a good job as a person who's grown up going to games there. And to be quite honest, and credit Vanderbilt, credit Vanderbilt. The way Vanderbilt plays, they don't beat you. You beat yourself. It's kind of like Vanderbilt had the long run to start the third quarter.
Yeah.
You make a mistake, they take advantage of it. But Vanderbilt really took the crowd out of the game. And aside from the opener, South Carolina's crowd never got into it. And again, that it was just an odd game all the way around. Vanderbilt just came out and simply outcoached them, outplayed them, out physical them. Everything Vanderbilt said, they came out and did. And it was really shocking to see. And I'll be interested to see it. This looks like a team. South Carolina looks like a team who spent the last 9 months reading about how they're a playoff contender, how Lenore Sellers is a Heisman candidate, how Nick Harbor is really good in EA Sports college football, how the offense was going to be this great offense. It looks like they spent the last 9 months doing that and believed in themselves, but didn't put in the work to be that.
Well, you're seeing a lot of studio teams and magazine teams and hype teams. Look at the quarterbacks. Kevin Skarvinsky said it on this show Monday on his podcast after my show about look at Nussmeier, Lagway, Arch Manning. They're 13, 14, and 15 in the league. I mean, I think there's something to be said about and it's not just the magazines now. And we used to, in the old days, have a 30-minute preview with Bill Fleming on ABC. The Southeastern Conference, it was 10 teams. It would always start with Alabama and then go down from there. Now, 1 through 16, I ask everybody on here, like you, the SEC, this year versus last year. In my opinion, it's better this year.
That's a great question that I need to ponder a little bit. I have been trying to figure out what the SEC is. Obviously, right off the bat, John Mateer in Oklahoma is the one that has caught my attention the most. Okay, are they legitimate? I'll admit I did not see the Texas A&M game last week because I was at Vanderbilt, South Carolina. So that 41-40 score caught me off guard. And I'll admit I've not been very high on Texas A&M in terms of what they were going to do. So that one surprised me a little bit. Is Alabama legitimate? Was that a bad game? Was that a bad game against Florida State? And what we've seen Alabama do now the last 2 weeks, is that who legitimately they are? Georgia, that was a great game. Got a chance to watch that Georgia and Tennessee over the weekend. And I think Tennessee maybe impressed me a little bit more. So, just kind of talking myself through it with you very quickly. Yeah, I could see where the SEC has taken a step up and maybe has a chance to get back into the national championship game. That's crazy to say that they haven't even been in the national championship game the last 2 years, much less won one. But it does feel like the league's maybe a little more balanced this year. I do think South Carolina's a good team. I just think they've got to get some things together. And then you got a team like Vanderbilt who's put it together. And we'll see what Arkansas, Kentucky, and even a Mississippi State who goes out and gets a great victory over Arizona State a few weeks ago. Maybe I think you're right. I hadn't thought about it that way. So good point to bring up on a Wednesday morning.
Yeah, and I look around the league and, Arch, Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix, is on Mondays with us. And I talk to Dave almost every day or text with him. It's the number of starts and snap counts. And we're trying to microwave all these quarterbacks. I mean, Arch Manning, it's not that he's not good. You've got to give him time. but who's willing to do that? In this day and age, the hype train is on, full speed ahead.
Yeah, with the quarterbacks, it's really interesting and quietly, I don't know, we've given so much love to Arch Manning in the offseason.
Yeah.
And you're right, and who he was supposed to be, and obviously he's struggled. Ty Simpson is coming along. I don't know if people are paying attention to what Ty Simpson is doing at Alabama the last 2 weeks, coming off of that Florida State game. So you're right. We focus on the negative around here. We're focused on Lenore Sellers and what he's done. I mean, this was a guy that was projected as maybe a top 5 pick in the NFL draft next year. Was projected as a Heisman candidate. You just mentioned what's taken place with Arch Manning. I think Garrett Nussmeier is a little bit different. I think Nussmeier, you look at the 2 games so far, Clemson and Florida, I think he's held his own, and I think Nussmeier's done what his team what he's had to do to win the game, which is the main thing, right? Like that's what you got to do. Lenore Sellers did not, of course, he got injured, didn't do necessarily what he had to do to beat Vanderbilt, and Arch Manning didn't do what he had to do to beat Ohio State. It is interesting in this league. I mean, and Rob, you bring it up, 2025, the amount of publicity and the way college football is that we give these kids for 9 months in the offseason. There's defensive coordinators, defensive players who go, all right, I see you on the cover of that magazine. I see everybody talking about you for 9 months. You just wait. You come around. We got something for you when you show up. I see how good you're supposed to be.
Well, Casey Goodjohn's watching the show right now out in Texas. He was a 20-year Marine. He was also a recruiter. Will, you will be a great Marine. But once you get to going across the causeway in the low country of South Carolina, and you get in that gray bus and you enter Paris Island, your recruiter does not give you his cell phone number. The hype for Arch, for all these guys is great. And then they ain't going to tell you the guys on the other team could care less about you. All they want to do is hit you as hard as they can. I mean, so South Carolina, let's talk about them. How do they, is there a path to victory Saturday? And we keep going back to this, but every week it's something different. Remember, it's 18 to 30-year-olds in today's age.
Yeah, I think they've got to let whoever it is, whether it's Luke Doty or Lenore Sellers, I do think it will be Lenore Sellers. South Carolina's got to open up the pass game. There was a time going into the third quarter against Vanderbilt, going into when it was still a game, South Carolina was 15 of 18 passing in that ball game. The passing game was there, and I say that because Mike Shula wanted to continuously line up in kind of power formations and run the football. And South Carolina's just not a running team right now, and so for them to win, it's going to be a shootout. Missouri's going to put up points. Eli Drinkwitz, he's going to get into the high 20s, if not the 30s. So for South Carolina to win this game, they are not good enough running the football to control the clock and keep Missouri off the field. You're going to have to accept, hey, we're going to have to put up 30 points. And to do that, I think they've got to throw the football. They do have some dynamic players at receiver. I think Sellers is going to make a mistake or two, but he can beat you with his arm if you give him the opportunity. So to me, it starts with offense on Saturday for South Carolina. They've got to be aggressive. You got to come out. We had a former South Carolina quarterback, Perry Orth, that came on with us a long time ago. And he talked about the difference between Steve Spurrier, and Steve Spurrier coached offensive teams, and when Will Muschamp came in and Kurt Roper. And he said that Steve Spurrier would sit in there and go, oh, this is their strength. This is what they do. So we're going to attack that. We're going after it. We're not scared of them. When Kurt Roper and Will Muschamp came in, they would be like, they're good at this, so we're going the other way. We're terrified of that. South Carolina on Saturday to win this football game has to go, it doesn't matter what Missouri does well. We are going to do what we do well. We're going to attack them. We're going to go after their strength, and we're going to abuse that. You go out and you try and run the football and you back down. You play sissy football, as I think somebody just called it. I just saw some kind of tweet from some higher up person.
Yes.
You play sissy football. It's not going to work on Saturday against Missouri because Eli Drinkwitz has some kind of thorn in his side against South Carolina, and he'll put a 50 spot on them in a heartbeat and see if he can hold them to 7.
Yeah, and you look around at like, I asked Shane Matthews a few weeks ago. I was on his morning show, pot up with Shane Matthews in Gainesville. It was really great. And I said, what would Coach Spurrier say to a quarterback? In this case, I was asking about Jackson Arnold before he runs through the tunnel at Baylor. He said, go out and have fun, throw the ball around, and do what we do. Just keep it loose. I love Steve Spurrier. I loved him when he was at Florida. And a lot of times Auburn was most of the time on the wrong end of the stick, but can't help but love that guy. He's a winner. He is a winner. Urban Meyer, these kind of guys. We need that in college football. Shane Beamer, you can't help but love his fire and energy and all. He was like that before last season, remember? At media days in Dallas, he was very kind of he didn't seem real confident. That's when you got to watch Shane Beamer. And that's what you said he's like at the press conference. I mean, we'll see, but I think that there's a lot of talent, but it starts at the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team right now that's reeling. They've not played a good game. They did, obviously, Virginia Tech's now 0-3 and minus the coach.
Whoa.
They South Carolina beat an FCS team and has just been physically beaten up in your home. It's going to take a long time for Vanderbilt not to have the connotation of Vanderbilt, right? Like, they're a better team. Diego Pavia is literally going to potentially be on his 7th year next year. I remember the days where we were like, it feels like that guy's been around for 7 years. Now it is actually 7 years. But the bottom line is, when you get beat that way by Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt's much better. I don't want to take anything, but it still rings of, wow, you got beat that way by Vanderbilt. South Carolina's very, very down right now. The fan base here, very down. This is a team that, you're right. This is where, all right, where Shane Beamer's done. That culture, that positive nature, everything you just talked about, has to come into play on Saturday.
Yeah, because, psychology in the locker room, everything matters. All right, let people know how they can follow you. You do a great show all over South Carolina. I'm sure you go into North Carolina and into Georgia and everywhere, but glad you're feeling better. You look great. Internet's never looked better. And look,
dude, I want to tell you right now, I promise you, and Rob will tell you this, the first time you ever came on the show, I said to Rob, I said, this guy's great. He's all over and he's making the best comments out there. We got to get him on the show.
Yeah.
I telling you, welcome back from media to media and all that good stuff. We've missed you and we're really excited to have you back. So welcome.
Yeah, and I second what Brendan said, because Brendan does not ever say anything. He's not 110.
No, I won't lie to you.
He will never do.
I'll tell you, you suck. But,
trust me. That's why I love
your caddy and your wife. Don't piss them off. Right?
That's right. Yeah. 3 people.
I appreciate that. College football is a fun thing to follow, and of course, I got a background with basketball and getting excited for basketball season coming up here in about 2 weeks when they kick off, or tip off or get the preseason going. But I hope to be back on Monday. That's the plan, and I think in the time that I've been out, we now are. I have to get back to you on this. We're on a Charleston station now, so we're down there in Charleston. I'll have to figure out what station that is, but certainly you can always go and download our app. I know you guys are worldwide too. Anybody can watch y'all on the internet now, and the same with us. Go to your app store and download the 107.5 The Game app. Doesn't matter where you're at. You can be in Texas or California or Wisconsin. You can listen to us each and every morning. I'll be back from 12 to 3 each and every day. Hopefully plan is to start Monday unless something goes haywire over the next 5 days.
Well, I'll be listening Monday when I'm driving somewhere in the Mid-South. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Will. Good luck.
Take care.
Hey, Brendan, and I'm seeing some comments over here, a lack of respect for schools. And I can see that. But the way you deal with a lack of respect, go win. And I think a lot of fan bases, if they've been struggling for years, they're afraid to go out after dark. Nothing cures all the problems more than winning. 2 of the best joining up right now, Dudley, Dawson, inside Arkansas. Wow. Those are the Boston Mountains. Wow, that's gorgeous. Holy shnikes. Dudley, Dawson, right outside of Fayetteville.
Yes.
Yeah. God, that's gorgeous. That's going up on the big trail.
You guys call those mountains. That's cute.
Well,
I grew up in Colorado. What do you want from me?
The trees are hiding a little bit, and Colorado's guys, they can stand on a perch and talk. I guess.
Yeah, that's right. But inside Arkansas, folks, follow Dudley. Got the Cowboy shirt on, and Vince Ferrara from the checkerboard, orange and white. Bob Kessling spoke at the Touchdown Club. Man, it was packed Monday night, Vince, and 25-year career as the voice. But before that, boy, his journey was fascinating. It's and someone did a video.
Got the creepy bear, man. That's so cool how you get the creepy bear in there.
I love it.
It reminds me of HR Puffin stuff from back in the day.
It's so weird, and that it's like he's stalking you, the bear.
Mm-hmm.
He comes in
another dimension. It's quantum physics, bro.
Checkerboard, orange and white. He looks like he's in the stadium.
There it is.
Yeah. All right. We got him. All right. Let me start with you, Dudley, real quick, and then go back to Vince. I had Arkansas to win on the road at Ole Miss. The great defensive play by Ole Miss to strip the ball. But, man, does Talon Green look comfortable in Bobby Petrino's offense? If the defense can improve, they have a great shot to win 7 or 8 games.
Yeah, that's the big question, though. The
Yeah.
defense couldn't stop anybody last week. I think my 10-month-old French bulldog caught 7 passes for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns during that game. It's just you're right. Talon's having a great year. And I expect that to continue. He's got a lot of weapons that have come through for him, a lot of new ones, but they've come through for him. The running situation looks good. And it sure looked like they were going to come back and win that ball game. And that's one of the probably 2 games that I thought the season was going to hinge on. The other one is coming up this week against Memphis. Yeah. So we'll see how they do in that regard. But yeah, we've had a lot of excitement around here this week. The athletic director has pronounced Arkansas cannot win a championship, and that has not gone over well with the fan base, the media, or the people who think that there are things better left unsaid.
Wow. I wouldn't have said that. Never say that. Never say never. That's a long time. Vince Ferrara, we're watching the game, man, Saturday. The numbers on that Tennessee-Georgia game were phenomenal. We put those up earlier. Brendan did, talking with Barry Tramel about ABC's numbers. Maybe it's something about ABC because we all grew up with ABC college football with, Keith Jackson, Frank Broyles, Bill Fleming, Chris Schenkel. Man, so many great broadcasters. But Vince, Tennessee jumps out on top. Is just like the Alabama game in 22, breaking that 15-year streak. Georgia, you knew, would come roaring back. You were there. By the way, great post game. You and Josh Ward saw that on the YouTube. I'm telling you, Dudley, all of y'all, this is where you find out what's going on, hear the truth. So, Vince, let's get your takeaways from that game.
Yeah, like you mentioned, phenomenal offensive start. Great to be on with you guys as always. Phenomenal offensive start for Tennessee. 21 first quarter points on that Georgia defense that, probably has some names that the everyday fans aren't as familiar with, but they had 4 first-team All-SEC selections. There's guys there that are going to play in the NFL. Yeah. Probably for the Philadelphia Eagles, but we'll see. They're just younger with their
Philly dogs.
And I know, Dudley, as a Cowboys fan, you're not looking forward to that necessarily.
Hey, dude, I wore this shirt today because I'm not sure how many times I would be able to wear it after a win. So,
it's good. Put the mothballs. Watch out.
And it was a close call. Thank you, Brandon Aubrey. But that game, the way it started, could not have been better for Tennessee offensively. And Joey Aguilar was 14 of 14 in the first quarter. I mean, it just lights out. And that and the wide receivers were a big question for this Tennessee football team coming into the year. And, man, have they answered that. All the receivers, Chris Brazzell with 3 touchdown receptions, career day for him. But he's already surpassed his receiving yards from all of last year. All the receivers as a group have blown past all the returning yards and catches and touchdowns from last year. So those 2 groups, the passing game has been outstanding. Now, as you guys mentioned, you knew Georgia would come back, and Tennessee hit a lull offensively. Georgia kept coming, and 20 straight points for Georgia eventually would take the lead. But then Tennessee did have an answer back. And then 35-30, Tennessee is on top. They get a strip sack fumble recovery at the Georgia 34, and then Tennessee has a false start to put them behind the chains, and then 3 runs up the middle with Deshaun Bishop, and they settle for a long field goal, which put them up 8 at 38-30. But that added anxiety to the building, and that's a big thing of what Tennessee fans have been pointing to. Why were you not more aggressive there? Fans also pointing to that low offensively, saying they should have gone tempo. But, man, what people need to understand is this offense – you don't just decide you want to go tempo. It's not like, we're going to slow down now. If you don't have a successful play, it's very difficult to have tempo. It is a front-running offense. If you pick up 8 on first down, guess what you can do? You can run tempo and get up to the line, and the defense isn't set. But if you have incompletions, or if you have negative plays and sacks, if you have pre-snap penalties and you're behind the chains, you got to make sure things are right. You have to adjust to long yardage situations on your calls. You have to slow down and make sure you can execute. And that's kind of a part of this offense. If you have some success, then you can run the tempo. So, and then obviously the missed field goal in overtime, not being able to get a stop against Georgia, who tied it at 38, missed field goal at the end. Again, another penalty that hurt them. And, it would have been a shorter field goal. It would have been the kicker in rhythm. Instead, you get a false start penalty. Heupel decides to kick it on third down with 7 seconds to go. I personally would have run another play, let the kicker kind of re-get his momentum, as opposed to like, what's going on? Am I back? Am I kicking now? And then he missed wide right. He's been very reliable for them. And then, makes the field goal in overtime, but Tennessee gives up a touchdown, and that's ball game. So just gut wrenching, because Tennessee finally in the series that they've been blown out a lot had an opportunity. But still, to me, you take away a lot of things that you can translate towards success the rest of the year when you don't play teams right now we think that aren't as good as Georgia.
Yeah, and Dudley, same thing with Arkansas. I had them to win. Those games in Oxford with Arkansas and Ole Miss are some of the best in the SEC every year.
Yep.
We know what 63 points in Fayetteville last year after they'd won over Tennessee. That was kind of like, wow, yucks, back to the starting over. But Dudley, Talon Green and the weapons around him, talk about the 1-2-3 running back room as well, because every one of those guys is catch capable out of the backfield, and not everyone can say that.
Yeah, I think it was only the 15th time since 1995 that somebody had passed for 300 yards and run for 100 yards, and he is, as we said, he's settling in really, really good. Much like Vince's game, and I don't care who wins football games in the SEC. That's not what I do. These teams are who I care about and all that. But I felt sorry for kickers all over the place Saturday. The Tennessee young man, who's done a good job. I know kickers are fickle, the consistency and all that, but I felt sorry for him as a dad, and I felt sorry for this kid here at Arkansas, Scott Sardiak, who kicked a 55-yarder in his first ever field goal attempt at Arkansas. Then he missed 2, on Saturday. In that vein, Ole Miss, this guy made all his field goals. So there's your 6 to 9 point swing right there. It's so tough on these guys. They get scholarships and paid to go to college, and I suppose they get paid now too. I know Brandon Aubrey's going to get paid a lot as he goes along in his career. But I really, it's tough on these teams to play so well and so often, and then it come down to a kick, and everybody points to the kicker, but there's so many other things. I thought Vince did a really good job at setting the scene for the Tennessee kicker. In any time you lose or because of a missed kick or during a missed kick, then everybody's going to point to the kicker. But there's so many other things that went on during that, especially during these 2 games that he and I covered this weekend, that, a couple more and you're looking at a different winner in both games, maybe one more.
Yeah. I want to give Dudley a compliment. He's got on his Cowboys shirt, St. Louis Cardinals hat, and he's covering the Hogs for inside Arkansas. So this is cool stuff. I absolutely love it. I got to say too, then when you start looking around at what happened over the weekend, I think being a kicker in a crowd of 80 to 100,000 plus, it's like, at the Masters on the last hole, you've got to make a 45-foot putt to win the whole thing. And it's dead silence and everybody's watching you. No pressure here, but you learn to live with it. But hey, inside Arkansas, we got 2 of the best. Vince, you referenced this morning, you had a special guest, UAB coach Trent Dilfer, won a Super Bowl, we know, with the Baltimore Ravens, the Elite 11 football camps. What was that conversation like?
Really cool. When he was at Lipscomb Academy in the Nashville area, he came to Knoxville, had a playoff game at Knoxville Webb, and I got a chance to talk to him then. I'd done the game of the week for high school football for a long time, and he was great. I when we talked for like an hour, and he probably could have kept going. But no, it was great to have him on this morning. He's got, ties to Tennessee. 2 players that he coached at Lipscomb Academy in Nashville are on this Tennessee team. One is linebacker Edwin Spillman, and the other is safety Caleb Beasley. So that's going to be unique. He also mentioned that he knows so many guys on the Tennessee roster through recruiting, through competing against them in high school when he was at Lipscomb Academy. So he's got great familiarity with Tennessee's roster. Also, he became, good friends and tight with Alex Golish when he was at Lipscomb Academy, because Golish would recruit, and they get to know each other and talk a lot. And by the way, those two will meet later this year because UAB plays my South Florida Bulls, who of course came up short against Miami, but that's a different story. But no, so there's a lot of familiarity with Tennessee for a long time for Dilfer. Huge praise on Joey Aguilar. He said Tennessee definitely upgraded at quarterback with Joey Aguilar. And I think that we can put those comparisons away for, I know there's still TV has graphics up there, but I don't care what the numbers say, and the numbers will be in Aguilar's favor. The eye test and the winning and what's around him is clearly in Joey Aguilar's favor. So just complimented his poise, his confidence, his footwork, his accuracy. Joey Aguilar's second in the SEC in passing yards right now. Like, who would have expected that going into the year? And he's got receivers that have developed. So he said this team is so well coached. And just really complimented their explosiveness. And he said, if we don't do the right things, it's going to get ugly. He's never been to Neyland as a coach before. So I thought that was interesting. And he knows what he's got in front of him. But, his team will come in, and I don't think they'll be afraid. It's just a matter of whether they have the horses to stay in it. And Tennessee's usually really good in these non-conference games to not mess around, especially when they have a quality quarterback and offense.
Yeah, and you know what? There are 2 famous – now there's 2 famous people I can think of who were immigrants from the Soviet Union, Russia, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. Jack Crystal, the legendary voice of the Mississippi State Bulldogs, both of his parents immigrated from Lithuania with the clothes on their back and like $10. And when he retired – he talked about the American dream. You know who the other one is? Alex Golish. His parents left Russia years ago with $400 to their name. That guy he's tough. He's tougher than a nickel steak. So great to hear that interview. And I'm telling you, when you do an interview, and Dudley, like someone said, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth. It's the listening. I'm sitting there listening to you, and I'll go back and watch this. Trent Dilfer's getting a lot of heat for what's happening at UAB. But the guy knows football. And I think Joey Aguilar calling the steal of the year in the portal. But I think our coach is Monday. Brendan, correct me if I'm wrong. Pete Cordelli won a national title at Notre Dame with Lou Holtz. Ellis Johnson at Alabama with Gene Stallings. Close call at Auburn. Dave Bartu was on College Football Matrix, talked about Josh Heupel as a quarterback coach. He's kind of a Wolfgang Puck, Gordon Ramsay. He's that good. Dudley, same thing with Bobby Petrino, the man from Montana. Arkansas, what's the temperature? This game against Memphis Saturday is a big deal for both schools, and Arkansas is going to flood the market with their fans.
Yeah. 3-1 and 2-2 may seem like just a 1-game difference, but the narrative will really change, and we'll be covering more off the field stuff here. If Arkansas loses this game, and they certainly may. Memphis, I watched their entire game last week, and they are more of a running team this year. I think that, it's going to be a close football game, and whatever happens early is probably going to be a key indication, and Arkansas's defense has to get better. I want to go back. You mentioned the running game, and I don't think I ever answered that question. They have got a really good running game with Mike Washington Jr., Braylon Mitchell, and Rodney Hill has not really had a chance to break out yet. But, the running game and what Taylon Green adds in, along with how he's been able to pass this year, has certainly improved that offense. But the other thing I wanted to mention is that, it is it's turned out to be a trade, and I know there were another spot and all that, and if I'm not supposed to mention his name, like Voldemort, that guy that went to UCLA from Tennessee, he's not had a great year, but man, he's not surrounded by any talent. I don't know what's how that got to that point there, but I did not expect either Brent Pine or Deshaun Foster to get fired, and 0-3 these days will get that for you. And I'm pretty sure that those aren't the last two they're going to be fired in season.
Yeah. I think Brent Pry's buyout was only $6.2 million. I mean, they got him at Walmart or something. That was cheap.
Yeah, and real quick to add,
easy on Walmart, dude. Hey, easy on
No, we love Walmart. You got value, but just didn't work out.
Discounted prices. That's right. Value.
Always low.
That's right.
But Dudley, I agree with you. And so many Vols fans that have just piled on Nico since he left, and he has not played great. His best game was probably UNLV when he nearly rallied them to come back from a big deficit. But he's one of the few guys that has a pulse on that UCLA team in watching their games when they just get housed by New Mexico and just embarrassing the way they played. And a lot of them have said, "Oh, look at Nico. He got his head coach fired at UCLA." No, he didn't. Deshaun Foster got Deshaun Foster fired. They were a mess already in the culture, the way they were constructed, the lack of talent, all those kind of things. And Nico, yeah, he didn't help them, come in and save the day, but they were already destined to be a failure without Nico. But it's just annoying to me that like everyone, they bring him up when they want to just pile on the guy. Yes, they made a mistake in their process of overplaying their card and leverage and all that.
Did they though?
No, I'm talking about the Nico family.
Oh, yeah. Gotcha. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the Nico family, they completely overestimated their value, and it cost them a spot with Tennessee and then into a much worse spot at UCLA. So, yeah, that's where the big mistake originated from. But Tennessee upgraded big time, and yes. Aguilar has far exceeded anyone's expectations. Are they coming into this year? And so he deserves a lot of praise because you've seen some of the broadcasts talk about his story. It is pretty incredible how he almost didn't even play football because it was going so bad for him, and even pre-COVID.
Well, you know what? You look at these games, these matchups and quarterbacks and all, and I don't wish bad on Nico, but UCLA was $100 million in the red when they joined the Big Ten. That's why they joined. It was almost a forced acquisition. And Deshaun Foster, I was talking to Ellis Johnson about him. Alabama played them in 2000 and 2001, and UCLA won both of those games. Terry Donahue coached there 20 years. That was a great program. And we've had Rick Neuheisel on the show a number of times. He loved Coach, and he just, he loved playing for him at UCLA. And you sit there and you go, wow, how can you go with all the talent around you? Same thing with Southern Cal. Just remember this. I'm a numbers guy, not X's and O's necessarily. From 1982 to 2002, 20 years, UCLA only won 10 games or more once in that span. There were some real zingers at coach that they had back then before these big buyouts. All right, guys, we got a few minutes left. What are some stories? And this is great. I absolutely love your background, both of you. The checkerboard orange and white, that is huge. And Dudley, what's a story or two at Arkansas that you're writing about inside Arkansas people may not know about, they need to be paying attention to? Because reading is like lifting weights with your brain or running 5 miles or getting on your mountain bike like I did last night and just riding west toward Crowley's Ridge and just trying not to breathe in too much dust on the farm roads. But I love the South.
I mentioned it a little bit at the start when I came on here, but the big thing around here this week is the Arkansas Athletic Director, Hunter Yurchek, spoke at the Little Rock Touchdown Club on Monday, and a lot of the things he said, were right and all that. And I like the dude, but you should not go in front of a camera. Let's put it that, no matter where you are, go in front of a camera and say, we we can win in all these other sports. There's no way you can win a championship in football. And that has been the overriding story this week. It is going to be used by every SEC school, by every school in the region that Arkansas recruits against. It's going to be an ask of recruits, from media members and all that. I think Hunter Yurchek has done a great job in most respects, but this was not his finest moment. And this is what we've done this week, is spend more time talking about this than we have about the upcoming Memphis game, the upcoming Notre Dame game, Sam Pittman's future. To me, it was throwing the program under the bus when you didn't need to. And I think that's going to be something he regrets. And again, I think he's done a good job, for the most part. I'm sure that, people have plenty of can point out all my mistakes as well. But I just think that, and it took me a long time to learn it, maybe 60 years, but not everything that comes into my head has to come out of my mouth.
Yeah. And you know what? If I'm an Arkansas player or coach, I'm going to double dog, triple down and say, you know what? We're going to show you. Vince?
Yeah, maybe that was his thinking. I'm stunned that he said that. You talk about the negative recruiting. That's hard to undo and fight. Those guys have enough to fight against when you're in Arkansas and competing with the big boys, and now you have to fight that stuff. Man, just crazy that happened. As far as Tennessee, the biggest thing is health. You saw, and this was a reason why I picked Georgia to beat Tennessee last week. I knew it would be a close game, and you saw them go toe-to-toe throughout the game. But I was worried about the injuries on defense, and that's where what we saw play out. I think Tennessee tired out at the end. They had young players playing where you saw some mistakes at corner, and Ty Redmond, who had a tough game, he's been so good prior to, level up in competition, and then it was a tough day for him. Other young players in key spots. Plus, a lot of your starters stacking up 94 snaps, like every snap on defense for some of their core guys. That is a lot. And that's to take a term from Brent Hubbs from VolQuest, he said on the show, an empty the bucket game. But man, you got D lineman getting 65 snaps in this game plus 65 in the Syracuse game. That can really accumulate. Their two starting corners are still probably going to be out for a while. They have two defensive linemen out. They've got to get healthy, and they cannot afford this UAB game to have too many snaps for their starters, because it will hurt them even more down the road.
All right, great stuff, Vince Ferrara, Dudley Dawson. We got to wrap it up. We'll see y'all next week. Folks, follow them. You'll be smarter for it. Have a great day, everybody. All right, let's say something real quick. Our sponsors, LandersFordMemphis.com, Poplar and Houston Levy. Going to buy a new car, truck, or SUV, don't let it overwhelm you. Just ask for Brad Bellamy, the general manager. When you get there, just ask for him. Tell him you heard about him on SEC Sidelines Sports. All the Broncos, they've got the Ford Escapes. They've got the Expeditions. They're top 5 in the nation in the sale of Expeditions. Service department, they'll come pick you up at your house or your office, take your vehicle in, take you back home. They've got great pricing plans across the board. Number 1 Ford dealership in the Mid-South, Landers Ford, Kent Ritchie, Don Kitchens. Everybody there is committed. They've been doing this a long time. They're not good because they're old. They're old because they're good. They've been around a long time because they treat customers fairly. That's what you can ask for. You'll get it. Also, down the street from our great friends at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. I was out there Monday. 17 boxes came in, tons of them from Barber. They've got great looking Barber men's and women's clothes, bags, hats. They've got Barber gloves. They're the warmest gloves you put on. I mean, they've got Filson, they got STS, Duckhead, blazers, pants, and these new Gentile pants and shirts. They've got so much to see. Kids' clothes, 7,000 pairs of men's and women's boots. You will go wild when you go there. Charles Hall, his wife Laura, J.M. Huffman, Raven, Lydia, you can't get better. Rumble Boxing. How you fight is how you live. Older you get, the more you better be working out. My wife was on the floor doing yoga this morning. Rumble Boxing, open every day of the week, Union and McLean. And the Lights Out Gummies, people, Take them at night. They work. No sleep hangover. You'll be more productive for it. Use the code Sidelines at checkout for 25% off. Hey, for executive producer Brendan Martin, cannot get better than the Truth Broker. Everybody watching, thank you. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among you. See you tomorrow.